What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today I'm checking out another Supreme collaboration, this time on the SOG Snippet Multitool. And before I get too into that, I just wanted to talk about where this kind of Supreme EDC gear came from, because I'm not into Supreme as a brand in general. In fact, I don't have any of their tees or hoodies or skate accessories, anything like that. It all started a couple months ago, or earlier in the year, I guess, on the Benchmade Bug Out collaboration, and this was going all over Reddit. It was pretty controversial just because of the extreme billboarding on it, and at the time that it was going around, there was no release date or price on it. And so I reached out to a buddy that isn't into Supreme either, but is a big sneakerhead and has some Supreme Nike collaborations, and just wanted to figure out how I can figure out the drop time and price and all of that sort of thing. And so apparently they release all of their items at the beginning of the season, but no prices or release date. And then the week of, they'll release what's coming out that week as well as the pricing on it. And they come out on Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific each week. And so I was able to score this, and it really grew on me. I actually like it a lot. The billboarding is still extreme, but I like the colorway on this. If they sold just this red version that is on the non-show side, I would definitely pick this up. It looks really cool and feels just like a Benchmade Bug Out. Just like all of these products, I have 3 of the 4 in non-Supreme versions, so the really only change you're getting is the colorway and the branding. So after that, he'd reach out to me anytime there was a new EDC related drop, and I just ended up picking up all of the EDC items that dropped this season. And so I got the Boker keychain knife. This one's a glow in the dark, really cool little knife. And then next I got the Zippo. This is brass with the Supreme engraving all over it. Thought this was pretty cool. Won't do a video on this one just because it's a standard Zippo. Everyone knows and loves Zippo, so nothing really changing there. And then I got the SOG Snippet in the matching brass finish. They also had a red aluminum version that looks more similar to the other items, but I thought this kind of went well with the knife, so I ended up picking it up here. One thing about these collaborations is you are paying a little bit of a premium for that branding. So for the most part, it's about $15 more than the standard items, except for the Bug Out, which was pretty comparable actually to the standard aluminum Bug Out. I'm not sure why that one wasn't marked up as much, but for the most part, about 15 bucks. They're also usually in unique colorways that you can't get standard. So typically this is just going to be a silver aluminum, and so instead we got this kind of nice brass finish. I don't think it's actually brass. I think it's just anodized to be this color, but in any event, still looks cool, and went to pick this one up. If you're not into Supreme, in the description I'm going to link to this if it's still available, as well as the standard version. You can get a standard snippet for around $30, and it's going to be exactly the same except for the color and the branding. And so if you're just interested in the snippet, this is still going to be the same as those snippets. Now, the one thing that you notice right off the bat is these weird wings or loops that make it function like a normal pair of scissors. They're pretty cool and different than what you see in standard scissor-based multi-tools. It feels like a miniature pair of scissors. It feels really natural and intuitive and just feels good to use. The scissors are super sharp and effective. And so really like the scissor portion of this multi-tool a lot. Now, it's not really necessary, but I'm glad they're innovating and trying different things. But if you look at, for example, the Gerber Splice, it doesn't have those wings, but just as effective as a pair of scissors. The scissors on these are a little bit smaller. They don't meet as well at the tip unless you really apply a lot more pressure. But it's spring-based and just as easy to use as the Snippet. So not really a needed feature, but still kind of cool. Now, same thing on the Leatherman Micra. This one has a little bit longer pair of scissors and is spring-based, so feels pretty natural and not really missing those wings. But you would think that with those wings, it would really affect how small this tool can get when you fold this up, but it actually does fold down pretty compactly. So those tuck away nicely into the handles, and it gets relatively small. So for comparison's sake, the Micra is a little bit shorter, probably about 1/8 of an inch shorter, and maybe 0.05 inches thinner in width, but pretty comparable in size and thickness as well. The only difference is this one does have a pocket clip where neither of the others do, so it makes it a little bit wider than the Micra. But for the Gerber Splice, this one is also shorter, but much or I guess not much thicker, a little bit thicker, and also just thicker in general. Even without the pocket clip, it's about the same thickness as the snippet. One other thing I want to talk about on the splice, and I'll probably do separate videos on the micro and splice at another point, but one thing I like about the splice is all the tools are accessible from the outside, whereas on the micro and the snippet, you have to open it up to access any of the tools. And that's really kind of the biggest deterrent on the snippet, because when you open it up, those wings are really great for the scissors. They make for just kind of a normal scissor experience, but when you want to get to the tools, they can get in the way a little bit. And so that's especially noticeable in the center tools on each side. So there's 3 tools on either side. The outer tools are both accessible by nail nick. The inner tool has this plastic piece that helps you roll it out that's somewhat effective. It's a little bit tight on this side. I can probably loosen it up just a hair to make it a little bit easier to access that. But these wings also just get in the way of going straight down on top of that, so you have to kind of go in at an angle, which isn't great. It would be better if these tools were all on the outside, because then you could just access it while it's closed. But the first tool on the pocket clip side is a blade. It's a small drop point blade, 5CR15 MOV. Pretty standard in this size multi-tool, decent little blade. Next to that we have a toothpick, which again rolls out with this plastic piece that you can probably see a little bit better now that it's open. Unfortunately, the toothpick's not removable, so if this wears down, which it eventually will, it feels the same material that you get in a Victorinox toothpick. Those tips eventually do degrade as you use them. Naturally, it's just plastic. And so you can't replace this. Maybe they do sell replacements, you can just take out the screw and replace it, but it's not removable like the Victorinox, where it just comes off the tool by sliding out. And so don't love that about it. The other thing with these center tools is both of them don't close without a little help. So when you close it, it crashes into that wing and you can't push it any further. So the only way to actually close it is to use another hand and press up on that wing and then push it closed. And so the center tools aren't super accessible with these wings in place. Now the other tool on that side is this bottle opener, which also on the end has a precision flathead screwdriver, relatively small, about the size of sunglass or glasses screwdrivers, but it is a flathead, not a Phillips. And that's a nice kind of small, I like how skinny it is at the tip, makes it easy to get into small places. It's got the bottle opener there, which is, you can't have a multi-tool without a bottle opener, so that's that. On the opposite side, the non-pocket clip side, you have 3 more tools, including a full-size flathead screwdriver. This one's decent size, decent thickness, easy to access on the outside. And right next to that we have a pair of tweezers, which are also not removable. I tried pulling them out in case maybe they would pull out of there, but they do not pull out, and so not removable. And this one has the same thing where it gets in the way of that wing, but one thing I like is that if you're using it open, those wings add a little bit of an extra kind of grip, and so you can use the tweezers, let go, and it'll just kind of hang from your finger, which is a little bit nice. For the most part, you probably want to open the tool that you want, close the rest of it, and use it with the tool closed. But for the tweezers in particular, I just kind of like how they hang on your knuckle, and you can use them for the precision stuff that you're using them for, move them out of the way, and they'll kind of hang on your finger. It's a nice thing, but suffers from the same flaw as the toothpick in that it crashes into that wing when you close it, and you have to push that out of the way in order to fully close the tool. Now last up on this side you have a nail file, as well as this kind of pick, which is good for cleaning your nails or opening packages. It's not sharp, but it's sharp enough that it'll open, cut through tape and that sort of thing, and so can use it for that. The nail file is pretty effective on nails. Haven't really tried it on anything else as a file goes, but it works well on your nails. And so that's the last tool on the inside, and all of them are okay tools. Again, the toothpick I wish was a little bit easier to replace because those do degrade over time, and then both the middle tools just kind of suffer from having these wings here. Now lastly, on the outside is a ruler, and so it's a pretty small ruler, but you have centimeters, well I guess millimeters and inches. But the millimeters are marked by 10, which makes a centimeter. And so millimeters and inches up to 5 inches. And so kind of a nice extra tool, not something I use a whole lot, but I guess good to have. It also has a key ring just like the Micra and Splice. I'm probably gonna end up removing this one since it's on the outside. It comes with the little ball and chain keychains that you can attach. I removed that, but I'm probably just gonna remove the ring attachment altogether since I don't use it. But on both the Gerber and the Micra, these are part of the center tools, and so not so easily removable. But since this one's just sitting on the outside, it's pretty easy to get that off, so I probably will at some point. But overall, I think this is a pretty cool multi-tool. I really like what they're doing with the wings. I think they would be better off putting the rest of the tools on the outside. I'm not sure if in order to get the wings, they have to have the tools on the inside, because otherwise they wouldn't have somewhere to tuck into, and the tools on the outside would eat up all that space. I'm not sure about that, but it definitely does get in the way of the other tools. As far as scissors go, they're really good scissors, so that's what I'm reaching for these multi-tools for 90% of the time, and they're really effective scissors. So I think pretty decent, not perfect, but for my first experience with a SOG product, I think it was pretty decent, and I like that they're trying to do something a little bit different. In general, my kind of impression of SOG has always been pretty comparable with Gerber. I'm not sure if that's a fair comparison or not, but was pretty impressed with this tool overall. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, either of this version or just the standard SOG Snippet. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button. They all help the channel a ton. And as always, I hope you have a great one. Take care.